2/3 of membership of National Assembly, with the concurrence of 2/3 of membership of state houses of assembly. Once that is passed, that section or whatever section that is put forward for amendment stand amended. That's been my position. That's been my position. There have been pro this position and anti this position, but I am pro this position. That's my in view of sections of that constitution.
But why do those who argue against it think that there's got to be some sort of either an input or what's the word again now, assent to the bill by the president?
I didn't get your question very well.
Those who argue against this position of yours, why do you think they do that?
Well, they think that every bill passed by National Assembly ordinarily ought to be probably assented to or signed by the president. But I am saying in the wordings of this section 9, 2/3 of members of National Assembly with the concurrence of 2/3 of membership of each state houses of assembly, each house of assembly of states. The sections of whatever section that is probably put forward for amendment stands with the clear wordings of section 9. The only exceptions where you have 4/5 for 5 of membership of National Assembly is when it has to do with section 8, state creation and boundary adjustment, and subchapter 4, which is the fundamental rights of every Nigerian. You need 4/5 of membership of National Assembly to do that.
So when that is done,
I believe that's what the law has said. This is the ground of the entire country. It's fundamental law.
Mode of altering provisions of the Constitution.
Yes.
So that should stay the way it is.
That is my opinion.
You know, ultimately, all of this amendment is to ensure that the country runs smoothly and that the rule of law should be the case and not the rule of force.
No.
But, you know, despite all of this, you see the way, unfortunately, the Rivers case, which is currently going on, and you thought that lawmakers will have utmost respect for the law. But we don't see that.
It's a very big shame. It's a very shameful and very shameful. I don't know how to describe it. I'm short of words to describe what happened at the Rivers State House of Assembly. But honestly, save the shameful act of the majority leader, Shidiloy, that took damage and was smashing his colleague. Save that. The 5 members that attempted to impeach the leadership of National Dark River State of Assembly by now should be arrested and tried for treason.
But we've seen this several times. Not this year, the previous administration, and all these things keep happening.
That is the reason why fundamentally we have to overhaul this constitution, particularly section 214, which has to do with powers of state Nigerian police. I am an advocate of creation of state police.
Why? The
partisanship, with what I've seen on the telly and what I've heard, what I've read in papers. The Commissioner of Police in Rivers State, I say with every sense of responsibility that he was biased towards the governor. The governor is the chief law officer of the country, as chief security officer of the state. I do not expect what happened on the floors of Rivers State of Assembly to have happened, if not for the tacit support of the police. How will 5 members of that house sit or have sat and removed majority?
If you're advocating for state police, the thing is, if the state police is approved, then there are those who believe that the commissioner of police in the state, who is the head of the police force in the state, will now be under the thumb of the governor, and then he'll be used to do whatever
we still have federal police.
No, how federal police are functions in this case, they'll tell you, no, this is a purely state matter. And they'll tell you, no, this is politics. If the government and the senator happens to be of a different party, you know what that will cause.
I also agree. There will be abuses. There might be abuses from the state angle too. But there's need for us to have state police. And we should also put in checks and balances. Because as it stands now, if what happened in Rivers State continues, we know the impact for the entire country.
There was something you said earlier about the 5 that did the impeachment being tried for treason.
Yes.
Now, you said save the act of the House leader, Chidi
Yes, the shameful act.
He's been declared wanted by
the police. Now, does that make their acts? Does that exonerate them?
No. I'm looking at the shamefulness of the entire thing. Okay. If the shamefulness will have been limited to the activities of the 5, if we had not taken that ugly step.
In this case now, would you say the two parties have gone contrary to the Constitution?
The two parties, not in terms of impeachment of leadership, the five are culpable.
What about arms of government? Because the principle of separation of powers, I mean, some argue strongly that it was not respected. The executive coming into the fray of a purely legislative matter. And some talked about the weakness of institutions not living up to their billing, moving in to restore order hours after that fracas ensued. And it just keeps going on.
The plank of the entire fracas is politics. This side trying to take hold of the State House of Assembly, quote and unquote, and it has not been confirmed. What we had that they will have done was to probably impeach the governor. And the moment he's impeached, the governor without police detail and all that, could be arrested. And you go back to court to probably challenge that.
Okay,
it has happened.
If they have succeeded in impeaching the speaker.
It has happened in play too. If they are succeeded in impeaching the leader, to probably set aside the leadership of the House and probably move against the governor.
But what do you say to those who argue that the principle of separation of powers was not respected?
That the governor, I am not pro-Amishi. I don't even belong to any political party. But I'm saying it the way I've seen it. But I think the governor was being vilified, and I think that was wrong.
By
the power that be.
No, but if you go to the chambers, that's an executive arm going into the legislative arm, and so many arguments. So people are looking at how do we just ensure the sanctity of our laws, institutions properly separated and function properly.
So the argument that was being put forward is that the governor was wrong to have probably gone to the
some see that, look, if you had
so he will have left them probably until the entire members are murdered or killed.
No, so by
intervention,
by the executive going into the chambers, what
that
does
has
that
also
solve?
been explained. I'm not trying to defend Amishi. That has also been explained that probably had something to do at the State Assembly that day. I don't know, but it has been explained that probably a budget something like budget was.
No, the deputy governor was the one who presented it.
That was explained.
It was the deputy governor who presented it and sorted that out. So institutions of government. Because, I mean, here people have argued, look at the local government autonomy, you talk about being under the appendage of governors, you talk about how people think, look, they've got a stranglehold on the assemblies, they can't do anything that the governor doesn't want, and this is supposed to be a federalism. And then government at the center, they also argue not living up to the billing of the state in turn wanting more. So the whole thing just muddled up, and we're constantly amending these laws. But we see problems coming up on a regular basis from the point of law.
I also strongly advocate separation of power vis-a-vis the executive, the legislature.
Don't we have that?
And it's not been really adhered to. Like you have probably pointed out now. I wouldn't know the motive behind Governor Amishi being in the assembly. But I think it was right step he took. I think so. Because if the fracas that ensued within the House was not checkmated, it was snowballed to something else.
Well, I'm looking beyond the persons.
Yes.
And looking at the institutions.
I'm an advocate of preserving the authority of each arms of government. Should not be interfered with by the other arms.
Because, for instance, if this had happened at the federal level, and the president was in the chambers.
It has to also has to do with the leadership of each arm.
How?
If the leaders, the purported leaders that were said to have been sacked were not seen as pro-Amishi, I don't think the other camp will want to probably move into to impeach them. It has to do with leadership carrying along the entire members of House of Assembly. The fundamental thing that caused this trouble in Rivers House of Assembly has to do with politics, entirely political.
Yes, this is political. That's why I want to even go beyond the politics, because these guys are politicians. They will always keep doing what they have to do. But the law is there. It's expected that it should checkmate all of these activities such that the people will have confidence saying, well, you guys can do whatever you want to do, but we're sure that the law will step in, no matter whose ox is God. But that we haven't seen.
We have not seen it. I agree with you. I agree with you.
When these amendments are done, with and against, we have a constitution, so to speak. But the problem according to some school of thought, is the implementation of it. Not that we have a bad constitution. Do you agree with that?
No. No, partially. Partially, no.
And partially, yes.
And partially, yes. There are some sections in this constitution that probably needs amendment.
Probably.
Subsection. Not probably. We need to overhaul this constitution. And the operators too need to change their attitudes towards governance. That we might take.
All right, then Omodara Samson, legal practitioner and former publicity secretary of NBA Ikeja chapter. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, my brother.
We'll return in just a moment.